The alien asked him to fix something, but what he got was, please like, share this video, and click the subscribe button to follow the latest and best HFY stories. And now, the hum of Ethria never truly slept. Even at the edge of night, when the twin moons hung low and bruised purple over the skyline, the city breathed through its conduits, soft pulses of neon, the distant sigh of grav trains sliding between towers, the faint ozone scent of shield generators cycling down for maintenance. James Ryder knew every note of that symphony. He'd grown up inside it, raised in the lower hab blocks where the air tasted of recycled coolant and cheap synth coffee. Tonight he sat on the narrow balcony of his 32nd floor apartment, boots propped on the railing, a half-empty bulb of amber ale sweating in his hand. The label read Solar Gold, a lie, of course. Nothing gold grew on this rock. But the burn down his throat felt honest enough. Below, repair drones flitted like fireflies, patching micro-fractures in the maglev lines. One winked its status light at him, green, all clear, and he lifted the bulb in lazy salute. Another quiet shift tomorrow, he murmured to no one. The words tasted flat. James was 31 standard years old, lean from climbing scaffold rigs, sun-dark from the artificial lamps that mimicked Solera's missing star. His hands were a map of small scars, each one a story of stripped bolts, arcing plasma, the occasional bite from a malfunctioning servo. People called him steady, reliable, the guy you pinged when the quantum dishwasher started spitting chronotons. He liked that. Liked knowing exactly where the next credit was coming from, exactly which panel to pop to make the universe behave again. Inside, the apartment was dim. A holoframe on the wall cycled through old photos. James at 16, grinning beside his father in front of a gutted shuttle engine. James at 22, arms thrown around classmates the night they passed their tech cert. James last year, alone, holding a wrench like it was a trophy. The frame paused on that one longer than the others, as if even the algorithm sensed the emptiness. He was halfway through another swallow when his wristcom chirped. Priority tone, the kind that overrode sleep settings. The ale paused at his lips. Ryder, he answered, voice rough from disuse. A woman's face resolved in the hollow. Mid-40s, severe bun, lab coat the color of moonlit steel. Behind her, sterile white corridors stretched into shadow. Mr. Ryder, this is Dr. Halverson, Xenotech Retrieval Division. Apologies for the hour. Her accent carried the clipped precision of core world academia. We have a device requiring delicate calibration off books. Your name came up through the guild. James set the bulb down. Off books meant hazard pay. It also meant questions he wasn't supposed to ask. Define delicate. Ancient, pre-collapse, possibly hazardous to standard diagnostic protocols. A pause. Compensation is triple your usual rate, plus full med coverage. Transport leaves the East Pad in 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Enough time to shower, shove a protein bar in his mouth, and pretend his pulse wasn't already climbing. What's the catch, Doc? Her eyes flicked to something off-screen. The catch, Mr. Ryder, is that you may not remember the catch. The line went dark. James stared at the empty air where her image had been. A joke? Corporate intimidation? Either way, the hook was in his mouth and twisting. He stood, rolled his shoulders, felt the familiar ache between the blades. Old injury from a drop lift malfunction. The city lights shimmered across the balcony glass, painting his reflection in electric blues and violets. For a moment, he looked like a ghost superimposed on the skyline. Guess steady just got interesting, he told the ghost. The shower was scalding. He let it drum against the back of his neck while he ran diagnostics on his field kit. Multi-tool, quantum spanner, neural dampeners. The little black case that held his custom firmware patches. Everything green. He dressed in the dark, cargo pants, worn boots, the faded jacket with Ryder and Son repairs stitched over the hard and peeling thread. His father's jacket, the only inheritance that mattered. Outside, the corridor smelled of fried noodles and someone's overflowing recycler. The lift down took 30 seconds. The walk to the East Pad took 8 minutes. Cold bit through the jacket, but adrenaline kept him warm. The transport was a sleek courier skimmer, matte black, no markings. A single figure waited by the ramp. Tall, hooded, face obscured by a privacy veil. James's boots crunched on frost-dusted ferrocrete. "Ryder," the voice was male, low, amused. "Thought you'd bail." "Triple pay," James said. "I'm predictable." The figure chuckled and gestured him aboard. Inside, the cabin was stripped for cargo. 2 jump seats, a humming stasis crate the size of a coffin, restraint fields flickering soft amber. James strapped in. The ramp sealed. Engines spooled with a subaudible thrum that vibrated in his teeth. As they lifted, Ethria fell away beneath them, grids of light shrinking to a circuit board, then to scattered embers. James watched until the city vanished behind clouds the color of old bruises. The hooded figure unclipped a data slate and slid it across. "Sign the waiver, standard memory redaction clause. You'll forget the details if things go sideways." James scrolled. Legalese blurred. In the event of temporal anomaly exposure. He thumbed acceptance without reading to the end. Predictable. "Ever fix something you couldn't see?" the figure asked. "Every day," James said. "Difference is, usually I get to keep the memory of the bill." Soft laughter. The skimmer banked hard, pressing him into the seat. Through the viewport, stars smeared into white ribbons. He closed his eyes. The hum of the engines felt almost like a lullaby. Almost. Somewhere ahead, in the dark between habitats, waited a machine older than the colony itself. Older, maybe, than language. And it needed hands that knew how to listen to broken things. James flexed his fingers. The scars caught the cabin's low light like tiny lightning bolts. "Let's see what you've got," he whispered to the crate. The skimmer dove toward a research spire clinging to the lip of an abandoned quarry moon. Floodlights carved harsh angles across ancient stone, glyphs half erased by millennia of solar wind. The landing struts kissed regolith with a sigh. Dr. Halverson waited on the pad, coat flapping. Beside her stood a woman James hadn't seen in the hollow. Younger, maybe late 20s, auburn hair escaping a hasty knot, eyes the color of deep space just before sunrise. She watched him descend the ramp with an expression he couldn't read. Not curiosity, not fear, recognition, maybe, but that was impossible. "Mr. Ryder," Halverson said, "this is Dr. Isabel Quince. She'll be your liaison inside the vault." Isabel extended a gloved hand. Her grip was firm, calloused, surgeon's hands or a climber's. "Call me Isabel." Her voice carried a faint lilt, something from the inner colonies. "And you're late." "Traffic," James said. The joke fell flat. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Halverson was already moving. "This way. Containment protocols are in place, but the device is restless." They walked a corridor carved from living rock, lights flickering on as motion sensors woke. The air tasted metallic, thick with the scent of ozone and something older, dust that had never known rain. James's boots echoed. Isabel matched his stride without seeming to try. "You always take jobs blind?" she asked quietly. "Blind pays better." Hope your eyes adjust fast." At the vault door, 3 meters of alloy etched with warnings in 12 dead languages, Halverson keyed a sequence. The door irised open with a hiss of pressure. Beyond lay darkness absolute. Then emergency strips glowed red, revealing the machine. It wasn't large. A tapered obelisk of black glass and stranger metals. No seams, no visible power source. Glyphs crawled across its surface like schools of silver fish, vanishing when stared at directly. At its base, a single cradle of exposed conduits pulsed with faint cerulean light. James felt it before he heard it. A pressure behind the eyes, like the onset of a migraine made of silence. "Temporal flux is spiking," Halverson muttered, checking a wrist display. "We have maybe an hour before the field destabilizes." Isabel stepped forward, boots silent on the grating. She didn't look at the machine, she looked at James. "It's waiting for you." He swallowed. The sound was loud in the hush. "Waiting for what exactly?" Her smile was small, sad. "For someone who still believes broken things can be mended." James approached. The conduits hummed a note just below hearing, vibrating in his bones. He knelt, popped his kit, and for the first time in years felt the old thrill. The moment before the panel slid aside and the mystery spilled out. His fingers brushed the cradle. The glyphs flared, and in the darkness behind his eyes, something vast turned over and woke. The cradle was warm. Too warm, like flesh just after a blush. James traced the exposed conduits with a diagnostic probe, the tip glowing soft amber as it mapped impedance. Numbers scrolled across his retinal overlay, flux density climbing, entropy bleed minimal, but something else, a harmonic that didn't belong in any spectrum he knew. It felt like listening to a heartbeat through a wall. "Talk to me," he muttered to the machine. Old habit. Machines didn't answer, but they lied less than people. Isabel crouched beside him, close enough that he caught her scent, ozone and something green, like crushed leaves from a world that still had them. "It's not damaged," she said. "It's waiting. The ruins predate the collapse by at least 40 millennia. Carbon dating laughs and gives up." James snorted. "Great. I'm babysitting a fossil with commitment issues." Her laugh was soft, surprised out of her. The sound eased the pressure in his chest a fraction. He focused on the work, rerouting a feedback loop, soldering a microfracture in the quantum lattice. Each touch sent ripples through the glyphs, silverfish scattering, reforming. The harmonic deepened, threading up his arms like ivy. Halverson paced behind them, boots clicking. "Field integrity at 72%. We need activation protocols before cascade failure." "Activation?" James didn't look up. "Thought this was a repair gig." "Repair requires calibration," Isabel said. "Calibration requires a test pulse. One controlled jump, 30 seconds into the local past, enough to verify stability." 30 seconds. Harmless, except the machine's hum had shifted pitch, matching the thud of his pulse. He felt it in his teeth now. "Define controlled," he said. Isabel's fingers brushed his wrist, light, grounding. "You'll anchor the loop. Your neural signature imprints the return vector. Think of it as bookmarking reality." He met her eyes. Up close, the sunrise color held flecks of gold, like embers in ash. "And if the bookmark slips? Then we forget the question." Her voice was steady, but her pupils were wide. James exhaled through his nose. "Triple pay. Hazard clause. The ghost of his father's voice. Boy, you fix what's broke, even if it bites." He nodded once. Halverson handed him a neural crown. Delicate filaments, cold against his scalp. "Sink in 3. On my mark." The crown settled. Data flooded. Timelines branching like frost on glass. Probabilities collapsing into certainty. He saw himself, versions of himself, standing in this vault, kneeling, walking away. Some versions screamed. One smiled at something he couldn't see. "Mark." The world inhaled. He was back on his balcony, ale bulb sweating in his hand. The city hummed below, unchanged. But the bulb was full now, condensation beating fresh. 30 seconds. Exactly. His comm buzzed. Halverson. Calibration successful. Return for Phase 2. Phase 2. The words tasted wrong, like déjà vu wearing someone else's skin. James stared at the skyline. A repair drone winked green. He lifted the bulb in salute, but his hand trembled. Back in the vault, the machine's glow had softened to a steady heartbeat blue. Isabel watched him with something fierce and tender. "You felt it," she said, not a question. "Felt like I lived the same minute twice, but heavier the second time." He rubbed his temples. "Like the air remembered me." Halverson was already uploading data. "Residual entanglement minimal. We can proceed to full interface." James rounded on her. "Full interface? Doc, we just skipped 30 seconds like a scratched track. What happens when we spin the whole album?" Isabel stood. "We mapped the anomaly. The ruins suggest this device wasn't built. It grew. Organic crystalline matrix. It learns." "Learns what?" "Us." She gestured to the glyphs. They'd rearranged into a pattern that hurt to follow. Spirals within spirals. A Mobius strip of light. Every interaction rewrites its codebase. And ours. James felt the harmonic again. Deeper now, curling around his spine. He took a step back. The floor felt soft, like memory foam dreaming of stone. "I need air," he said. Isabel caught his arm. "There's no air outside the field. Not anymore." He looked down. Her grip was steady, but her knuckles white. "What aren't you telling me?" She glanced at Halverson, who was suddenly very interested in her slate. "Later." Isabel whispered. When we're alone. Alone. The word hung between them like a promise or a threat. They worked through the artificial night. James bypassed safeties he didn't understand. Intuition guiding his hands where schematics failed. Isabel fed him coordinates. Temporal waypoints, she called them. Each one a memory she shouldn't have. A child's laughter in a garden that burned. A lover's name on lips that weren't hers. She spoke them clinically, but her voice cracked on the edges. At some point, Halverson left to file reports. The vault door sealed with a sigh. Silence pooled, thick as mercury. James sat back on his heels, sweat cooling on his neck. Okay, we're alone. Spill. Isabel knelt opposite him, the machine's glow painting her face in shifting blues. I've been here before, she said. Not this vault, not this moon, but this moment. You, me, the choice. Choice? She reached into her coat, drew out a small holocube. Activated, it projected a frozen image. James and Isabel, arms around each other, laughing in front of a sunset that didn't exist on Solara 9. The timestamp read 3 years ago. James's mouth went dry. That's impossible. I took this the first time we met, before I wiped it. Her voice was barely sound. The machine doesn't just jump time, it edits. Every activation prunes timelines. Memories are the first to go. Collateral damage. He stared at the holo. In it, his younger self looked lighter. Eyes crinkled with a joy he couldn't summon now. Isabel's head rested on his shoulder, auburn hair catching fire from the dying sun. We were, he couldn't finish, partners in every sense. She deactivated the cube, the image dissolved like smoke. Then the project went dark. Tempest Legion infiltrated. To protect you, to protect us, I triggered a localized rewrite, erased our history, planted the repair request so you'd come back, so we could try again. James's laugh was ragged. Try what exactly? Playing house across timelines? Saving the colony. She leaned forward, urgent. Solara 9 is dying, James. Core meltdown in the primary reactor. 8 months out. Evacuation impossible. Billions. But the machine can reach back. Prevent the sabotage. At a cost. Memories. More. Entire branches of reality. People who never existed. Loves that never happened. Her eyes glistened. I've done it 3 times. Each reset, I lose a little more of you. This is the last iteration I can anchor. He looked at the machine. It pulsed gently, as if listening. And if we walk away, then the world burns, and we remember nothing of why it matters. James closed his eyes. The harmonic filled them, a lullaby and a dirge. He saw flashes, Isabel's hand in his on a beach of black sand. Her tears when he proposed with a gear from a broken chronometer. The way she said his name like a prayer. I don't remember any of that, he said, but it hurts anyway. Isabel's fingers found his. That's how I know it's real. The vault lights flickered. Somewhere far above, alarms began their slow wail, distant yet growing. Halverson's voice crackled over comms. Intruder alert. Tempest Legion breach at level 4. Quince Ryder, secure the device. Isabel's grip tightened. They're early. James stood, legs unsteady. The machine's glow brightened, glyphs racing faster. Guess the choice just got made for us. No. She pulled him toward a side panel. There's a failsafe. My design. Overload the core, collapse the field. Takes both our neural signatures. Meaning? We forget everything. Each other. The colony still burns, but Legion doesn't get the keys. He stared at her. The alarms were closer now, boots on metal, voices shouting coordinates. And if we fight, then we try to save billions and risk becoming the monsters who rewrite existence. James looked at the hollow cube in her palm, extinguished, but the afterimage burned behind his eyes. He thought of his balcony, the ale, the quiet life that suddenly felt like a cage. Tell me one thing, he said. In the timeline where we're happy, do I still fix things? Isabel smiled, and it broke his heart. You fix me. Every day. The vault door buckled inward with a scream of tortured alloy. Shadows poured through, black tactical armor, visors reflecting the machine's blue heartbeat. Weapons raised. James met Isabel's eyes. In them he saw every version of themselves. Lovers, strangers, Ghosts. Together, he asked. Always, she said. They turned to the machine as one. Glyphs flared, welcoming. The harmonic rose to a roar that drowned the gunfire, the shouts, the end of everything they'd ever been. And in that roar, James felt the first true memory bloom, warm, terrifying, alive. The first stun bolt scorched the air where James's head had been a heartbeat earlier. He felt the heat kiss his ear, smelled his own hair singing. Isabel was already moving, low, fluid, a dancer who'd rehearsed this nightmare 100 times in erased timelines. She yanked him behind the obelisk's bulk. The machine's blue pulse painted them in ghost light, turning every glyph into a strobe. Left corridor! Maintenance shaft! Go! She hissed. James's legs remembered fear better than his mind did. He ran. Boots hammered, grating. Behind them, the vault became a storm of white flashes and shouted codes. Tempest Legion moved like a single organism. Black plates, mirrored visors, rifles that spat coils of hard light. One went down with Isabel's thrown probe buried in his neck port. The man convulsed, visor spiderwebbing. They dove through a side hatch. The shaft was a throat of rusted ladders and dripping coolant pipes. James's breath sawed in and out. Isabel sealed the hatch with a hissed command, magnetic locks slamming home. For 3 seconds, silence. Then the hatch glowed cherry red. Up, she said. 17 levels. Old lift core. He climbed. Hands slipped on condensation. Below, the hatch exploded inward. Grapples whined after them. Isabel fired blind down the shaft. 3 sharp pulses. A scream, cut short. Something wet spattered the ladder beneath James's boots. Don't look, she panted. Just climb. His arms burned. The harmonic was back, louder, threading through the metal like a second heartbeat. Every rung he gripped vibrated with it. Memories, hers, his, theirs, flashed unbidden. Isabel's laugh in a kitchen that smelled of real coffee. Her tears when he kissed the scar on her wrist. The way she said James like it was a planet she'd discovered. At level 9, the ladder ended in a circular hatch. Isabel slapped a palm to the pad. Nothing. Red denial light. Lock down, she snarled. They've got root access. James wedged his multi-tool into the seam. Give me 12 seconds. You have 6. Sparks showered. The hatch irised open with a dying wheeze. They tumbled into a disused observatory. Cracked dome overhead. Stars smeared by centuries of dust. Ancient scopes pointed at nothing. Moonlight speared through fissures, striping the floor silver. Isabel dragged a console offline, cables writhing like eels. I can reroute auxiliary power. Buy us a minute to sync the failsafe. James knelt opposite her. Neural crown already in place. Define minute. 60 seconds of maybe. She met his eyes. After that, the field collapses. We forget. Everything. He swallowed. And the colony. Burns clean. Legion never touches the machine. Her fingers flew across hollow keys. But 8 billion souls. Gone. No sabotage. No rewrite. Just entropy. Boots thundered in the stairwell. Too close. James reached across the console, caught her wrist. Her pulse hammered against his thumb. Isabel, look at me. She did. Tears tracked clean lines through the grime on her cheeks. In the timeline where we win, he said, voice rough, do we get mornings? Real ones? With bad coffee and arguing over whose turn it is to fix the gravity plate? Her laugh cracked. You burn the coffee, I pretend it's perfect. Then let's earn that morning. She nodded once. The console lit green. Sync initiated. The observatory doors buckled. Legion poured in. 6, 8, 10 silhouettes. Their commander stepped forward, visor retracting to reveal a woman's face. Older, eyes like winter steel. Dr. Quince, she called, voice amplified. Step away. The Directorate has authorized full acquisition. Resist and we prune this branch permanently. Isabel's fingers tightened on James's. Director Voss, she said, loud enough to carry. Still chasing ghosts? Voss smiled without warmth. Ghosts build empires. James felt the machine's song crest, every glyph blazing white. The neural link ignited behind his eyes. He saw timelines unfurl like silk ribbons, one where Voss pulled the trigger, one where Isabel's failsafe fired first, one where he and Isabel walked away hand in hand under a sun that never set. Isabel leaned close, lips brushing his ear. On three, we flood the core. Hold my signature, don't let go. He turned his head, their foreheads touched. One, her eyes shimmered. Two, the rifles rose. Three, light exploded, not from the machine, from Isabel. She'd palmed a sliver of crystalline memory shard, razor thin, and drove it into the console's heart. Blue fire raced the cables, leapt to the neural crown, seared straight into James's skull. He screamed, or maybe she did. Sound folded in on itself. Voss shouted something lost in the roar. Bolts slashed the air, melted mid-flight. The observatory dome cracked like an eggshell. Moonlight became noon. James felt Isabel's mind open, raw, vast, a library burning. Every erased morning, every stolen kiss, every promise she'd made and unmade across iterations. He drank it down, choking on love too big for one lifetime. Then the failsafe triggered. Reality peeled away in sheets. He saw Voss age 1,000 years in a second, skin sloughing, armor rusting, mouth frozen mid-command. Legionnaires collapsed into dust that whipped away on a wind that didn't exist. The machine folded inward, glyphs screaming, until only a single point of light remained, suspended between James and Isabel like a tear. Isabel's hand found his through the maelstrom. Her lips shaped his name, but no sound came. The light rushed into them both. James felt his memories ignite, and every version of himself, every heartbreak, every quiet Thursday fixing a toaster for an old woman who paid in homemade jam. They burned white-hot, then cooler, refined into something pure. Isabel's eyes widened. She understood first. No, she tried to pull away. James, it's taking you. He held tighter. Not leaving you alone with this. The light swallowed them. James woke to the taste of copper and ozone. The observatory was gone. In its place stretched a vast, silent plain of fused glass, black and mirror-smooth, reflecting a sky the color of old bruises. No dome, no legion, no machine. Only the faint warmth in his palm where Isabel's hand had been. He sat up slowly. His jacket was intact, tools scattered like fallen stars. The neural crown lay cracked beside him, filaments smoking. Memory came in fragments. Voss's face crumbling to dust. Isabel's eyes wide with refusal, the light folding them into itself like paper cranes. Isabel, his voice cracked, echoed strangely across the glass. No answer, only wind, thin and cold, whispering over the plain. He stood, legs steady, surprisingly. The harmonic was gone, replaced by a hollow ringing in his ears. He turned a slow circle. Far horizon, the quarry moon's edge, jagged teeth against the starfield. Closer, a single footprint in the glass, small, bare, hers. Leading away, then vanishing as if the plane had swallowed them. James followed anyway. Each step crunched softly, leaving prints that filled with liquid starlight. The air tasted clean. No recycler tang, no coolant bite. Just possibility, sharp as new metal. After what felt like hours or minutes, time felt negotiable. He found the obelisk, not the machine. A shard of it, no taller than his knee, pulsing faint cerulean. Glyphs drifted across its surface like lazy fish. When he knelt, one resolved into words he could almost read. Anchor restored. Anchor, he whispered. The shard brightened, projecting a hollow above his palm. Isabel's face, frozen mid-smile, timestamp flickering. Iteration 4. Divergence point. His chest ached. He closed the hollow. The shard dimmed, obedient. James pocketed it, weightless, warm. A promise or a scar, he couldn't tell yet. The plane ended at a cliff. Below, Ethria glittered. Not the city he knew. Towers soared higher, wrapped in living vines that glowed soft gold. Grav trains traced luminous arcs between them. No smog, no warning sirens. The skyline breathed. He descended a path that hadn't been there moments ago. Stone steps worn smooth by feet that might never have existed. Halfway down, he passed a plaque bolted to the rock, in memory of those who chose the fire over the fall. No names. Just that. At the base, the city gates stood open. People moved through them, laughing, arguing, alive. A child chased a drone that projected butterfly holograms. An old man fed real pigeons from a paper bag. The scents hit him. Fresh bread, engine oil, rain on hot pavement. Solara 9 had rain now. James walked the streets like a ghost. No one stared. His reflection in shop windows looked right. Same scars, same tired eyes, but the jacket's patch read Ryder and Quince Repairs. He stopped, heart stuttering. A woman brushed past him, auburn hair escaping a hasty knot. She carried a toolkit almost identical to his. Their eyes met, hers the color of deep space just before sunrise. "Excuse me," she said, voice lilting with inner colony warmth. "You're in my light." James stepped aside. She smiled, polite, distant, and continued on. No recognition, no spark. He watched her go. The ache sharpened into something fierce. Isabel, but not. A version who'd never built the machine, never erased a lover to save the world. A version living the morning they'd fought for. James followed at a distance. She entered a modest shop front, glass door, neon sign flickering open. Inside, workbenches overflowed with half-disassembled gadgets. A hollow frame on the wall cycled photos. Her with friends, her accepting an award, her alone on a balcony with a bulb of ale. No James. He stood outside until the sun, Solara's actual sun, warm and yellow, dipped low. Then he turned away. The shard in his pocket pulsed once, gentle. Night fell soft. He found a park, real grass, real benches. Sat, pulled out the shard. It projected the frozen smile again. "Hey," he told it. "We did it. Colony's safe. You're happy, I guess." The hollow Isabel didn't answer. James leaned back, stared at the stars. They looked closer here, kinder. "Hurts, though. Forgetting you." Twice. A breeze carried laughter from the city. He closed his eyes. The hollow ringing had faded, replaced by something quieter. Acceptance, maybe, or the first note of a new song. He slept. Dreams came gentle, hands fixing a broken chronometer, a kiss tasting of burnt coffee, a promise whispered against his throat. "I'll find you in every timeline." He woke to dawn. The shard was cold now, inert. He buried it beneath the grass, marked the spot with a pebble. Then he walked into the city, found the guild hall, signed up for a shift. Simple stuff. Quantum dishwashers spitting chronotons. The dispatcher raised an eyebrow at his credentials but waved him through. First job, a hab block on the 32nd floor, balcony view of the skyline. The tenant was out. He let himself in with the master code. The dishwasher hummed wrong, a minor flux in the temporal coil. James knelt, popped the panel. His hands moved sure, muscle memory deeper than thought. As he soldered the fix, he noticed a hollow frame on the wall. It cycled slowly. The auburn-haired woman from the shop, arms around a dark-haired man whose face was turned away. Timestamp, last week. He paused. The man's jacket had a patch. Ryder and Quince. James smiled, small and crooked. Finished the repair. Left a note. Fixed. Drink the good coffee. J. Outside, the city hummed its new symphony. He walked into it, boots light on the pavement. Somewhere, a woman with sunrise eyes would taste burnt coffee and wonder why it felt like coming home. The ache was still there, but it had edges now, sharp, clean, something to build with. James Ryder, repair technician, keeper of erased mornings, stepped into the light. And for the first time in any timeline, he didn't look back. The city's new rhythm settled over James like a familiar coat, worn in places but warm. He took the jobs that came. A grav lift stuttering between floors, a child's toy drone that looped the same 3-second flight until it drove the parents mad. Simple fixes, honest ones. Each completed task left a small glow in his chest, the quiet satisfaction of order restored. Evenings found him on balconies not his own, bulb of ale in hand, watching vines climb the towers. The skyline had changed in subtle ways. Advertisements for real fruit markets, a public hollow theater playing films about the collapse as ancient history. No one spoke of Tempest Legion. The name drew blank looks, like asking after a dream half remembered. One night, 3 weeks in, the shard's burial spot bloomed. He passed the park on a late call and saw it. A single silver flower pushing through the grass, petals etched with faint glyphs. It hadn't been there yesterday. James knelt, brushed soil from the stem. The pebble marker was gone, replaced by a smooth indentation, as if something had risen. He didn't touch the flower, just watched it sway in the artificial breeze, heart thudding slow and heavy. The next morning, his comm pinged with a priority request. Guild stamp, but the sender line read, I, Quince. No title, no affiliation. Hab block 32E, dishwasher flux again. You left a note. Coffee's on. James stared at the message until the screen dimmed. His thumb hovered, then typed, on my way. The block was his old one. Same scuffed corridors, same noodle smell. But the lift hummed smoother, walls patched with fresh, smart paint that shifted murals of starfields. Apartment 12, door ajar. Inside, Isabel stood at the counter, back to him, pouring from a battered percolator. Real beans, impossible luxury. The scent hit him like a memory he hadn't earned. You're punctual, she said without turning. Note said Jay. Figured that was you. James closed the door soft. Machines in the kitchen? Still spitting chronotons. But that's not why I called. She faced him, 2 mugs steaming. Her eyes, same sunrise, but softer now. No shadows of erased timelines. Sit. He did. The mug was warm, chipped in the same place his father's had been. Coffee bitter. Perfect. Isabel leaned against the counter. You fixed it last time. Left the note. I laughed. Burnt coffee line. Felt familiar, like deja vu with teeth. James sipped. The ache stirred, gentle. Deja vu's a glitch. I patch those? She smiled, small. Patch this then. Ever since the fix, I dream in blueprints. Machines that edit time. A man with your hands holding mine while the world ends. Wake up crying. Don't know why. He set the mug down. Dreams lie. Do they? She crossed to the hollow frame on the wall. Activated it. The photo from before. Her with the dark-haired man, face turned away. But now the image rotated slowly. The man looked up. James's own face younger, eyes crinkled in laughter. His breath caught. I found this in an old cache, she said. Timestamp corrupted, but the jacket patch, Ryder and Quince. Search the guild. You're Ryder. Who's Quince? James stood. The room felt smaller, air thick. You are. Isabel's eyes widened. What? He stepped closer, slow. In another life. You built something impossible. Saved 8 billion by forgetting me. I kept the scar. She touched her temple, unconscious. There's a gap. 3 years. Medical says neural trauma, old injury. But no records. James reached into his pocket, empty. The shard was gone. Flowered into the world. He took her hand instead. Calluses matched his. Gaps can be filled. With what? Coffee, bad repairs. Mornings we earn. Her fingers curled around his, trembling but sure. Show me. They started small. A walk through the vine-wrapped streets. Her shop, Quince Mechanics, tools laid out like surgical instruments. He fixed a client's hollow pet that kept phasing through walls. She watched, head tilted, learning the way he coaxed circuits like shy animals. Nights they talked. She sketched the dream machine on napkins. He recognized every line. Told her stories without saying they were memories. The quarry moon, the blue pulse, the choice between fire and fall. Isabel listened, eyes fierce. If it was real, why are we here? Because we won, he said. Legion dust, colony blooming. Cost was us. She traced the scar on his knuckle, the one from the vault ladder. Worth it? James thought of the silver flower, the empty plane, the light that burned them clean. Ask me after the next bad coffee. They rebuilt slowly. Partnership first, shared contracts, split credits, her laugh when he burnt the beans. Then more, a kiss tasting of smoke and possibility, pressed against the shop door after a 12-hour shift. Her head on his shoulder on the balcony, their balcony now, watching grav trains paint the night, but shadows lingered. Whispers in the guild, anomalies in the outer ruins, sensors picking up temporal echoes, faint but growing. No one connected them to legends. Tempest Legion was a ghost story for cadets. James felt it in the shard flower's petals. glyphs shifting when he wasn't looking. One morning, a new bloom, black glass thorn. Isabel found him in the park, staring. "It's spreading." "Roots," he said. "The machine didn't die, it's seeded." Her hand slipped into his. "Then we prune." They traced the echoes. Old data nodes in the Undercity, forgotten servers humming with residual code. Each purge left them drained, minds brushing erased edges. Isabel's gaps filled with nightmares. James woke with her name on his lips, tasting ash. One night, after sealing a rift that spat 30-second loops of rainfall, they sat on the shop roof. Stars wheeled overhead, closer than ever. "If it comes back," she said, "the Legion, the choice." James pulled her close. "We face it together. No more sacrifices." She nodded against his chest. "Promise?" "Cross my circuits." Below, the city slept under vine light. Safe, for now. But in the park, the silver flowers had formed a perfect circle. At its center, the first black thorn pushed higher, budding. James didn't see it, not yet. He was too busy learning the shape of Isabel's laugh in this timeline. The way it started low, surprised itself into brightness. The way her hand fit his like a key in a lock that had waited lifetimes. The war wasn't over, just quiet. For the first time, quiet felt like hope. Dawn bled pale gold across the park when James first saw the thorns breach the soil. They rose in perfect synchrony, 12 black spears, each as long as his forearm, edges faceted like obsidian blades. Dew slid along their curves and hissed into vapor where it touched. At the circle's heart, the silver flower he'd buried had inverted. Petals curled inward, stem thickened into a vein of pulsing cerulean light. The air above it warped, bending sound into a low, mournful keen. He'd come alone, coffee cooling in his hand, drawn by a dream that left him gasping awake. Isabel's voice saying, "It's not over," while thorns pierced her palms. The cup slipped now, shattering on the path. Porcelain shards reflected the thorn's glow, tiny blue mirrors. His comm buzzed, Isabel's voice tight. "Park, now." Sensors off the chart. She arrived running, boots skidding on dew-slick grass. The quantum spanner was already in her grip. Field emitter crackling. Echo convergence at World 23. Same signature as the vault. It's regenerating. James pointed. The thorns had begun to weave, tendrils lancing sideways, knitting a lattice that hummed with the old harmonic. Each intersection sparked, birthing glyphs that hung midair before dissolving into smoke. "Roots," he said. "The shard didn't die. It metastasized." A rift tore open at the lattice's center, vertical slash of bruised light. Voss stepped through first, armor reformed from the machine's own glass, seams glowing like molten circuitry. Her visor reflected the park's frozen dawn. Joggers mid-stride, a drone hovering with newspapers clamped in its claws. Time had stuttered inside the circle. "Anchor," Voss greeted, voice layered with a dozen dead timelines. "You delayed us." "Not stopped." Legionnaires followed, 20, 30, boots crushing the grass into black ash. Their rifles were longer now, barrels coiled with living glyph wire that writhed like serpents. One soldier raised his weapon. The coil detached, slithering across the ground toward Isabel. She swung the spanner. The coil shattered into blue sparks, but 3 more detached from other rifles, faster. James tackled her sideways. The coils struck where she'd stood, burrowing into earth and erupting as crystalline spikes. They rolled behind a bench that splintered under hard light fire. James's ears rang. "How many iterations did you bring?" Voss advanced unhurried. "Enough. Each prune fed the root. Your sacrifice was compost." Isabel's hand found his. Blood slicked her fingers, shallow cut from the bench. "The lattice is the new obelisk. If it closes the circle..." "The machine rebirths fully," James finished. He scanned. Thorns now chest high, weaving overhead into a dome. Outside, the city remained frozen. Grav trains suspended, a child's balloon caught mid-pop. "We break the ring." They moved opposite directions. Isabel sprinted left, spanner carving arcs of disruption that severed thorn tendrils. Black sap hissed where it hit the ground. James went right, multi-tool extended into a plasma lance. He sliced a path, heat shimmering, but every cut sprouted 2 new thorns. A legionnaire intercepted, Massive, visor cracked to reveal a human eye. Young, terrified. The man hesitated. James used it. Drove the lance through the rifle's coil, superheating the glyphs. The weapon detonated, shredding the soldier's arm and flinging James backward into the lattice. Thorns pierced his jacket, shallow but burning. The harmonic flooded his skull. Visions of Voss's empire. Planets rewritten into perfect obedience. History a ledger she balanced with blood. He saw himself kneeling at her feet in 100 timelines, anchor turned slave. Isabel's scream cut through. 3 legionnaires had her pinned, one pressing a neural spike to her temple. "Drop it!" the leader barked. She met James's eyes across the circle. In them, "Trust me." James lunged, not at the soldiers, but at the central vein. His lance plunged deep. Blue fire raced up the blade, into his arm, searing veins with liquid light. He held on. The lattice convulsed. Thorns retracted from Isabel, writhing toward him like iron to a magnet. The soldier staggered, armor cracking as the machine reclaimed its mass. Voss roared, "Secure the anchor!" But the circle was breaking. Isabel rolled free, spanner blazing. She carved a path to James, grabbed his free hand. Their palms met, blood and sap mingling. "Together," she said. He nodded. The fire reached his heart, vision whiting out. He felt her mind slam into his. Every erased morning, every stolen future. She poured the fail-safe code, not the old one, but new, born of their rebuilt life. For the mornings we earned. The vein exploded. Light, raw, unfiltered, billowed outward. Thorns shattered into glittering dust. Legionnaires froze mid-step, armor dissolving into code that unraveled like thread. Voss reached for them, mouth open in a silent scream, body unspooling into glyphs that scattered on a wind that tore the rift wide. The dome collapsed. Time snapped back, joggers stumbling, the balloon popping with a sad wheeze. The park lay scarred, glassed earth, thorn fragments smoking. James knelt in the center, lance melted to slag. Isabel collapsed beside him, forehead against his shoulder. Blood matted her hair, but she breathed. Voss's visor lay cracked at their feet. Inside, not a face, but a looping hollow. Her younger self, eyes wide, whispering, "We could have saved them all." The hollow flickered out. Sirens wailed distant. Guild response teams inbound. James pulled Isabel close. Her pulse fluttered against his neck. "We broke the root," he said. She laughed, wet, exhausted. "Roots grow back. Not this one." He pressed his lips to her temple, tasting salt and smoke. "We'll salt the earth with mornings." Above them, the sky cleared to impossible blue. The silver flower was gone. In its place, bare soil, already sprouting tiny green shoots, real grass, stubborn and new. They helped each other stand. The city stirred around them, unaware it had nearly blinked out. James's hand found hers, fingers laced tight. Far below the park, in the under-city's forgotten nodes, a single black seed pulsed once, then stilled, waiting. But for now, the war was ash, and the coffee would be burnt. Perfect? Theirs. The sirens grew louder, weaving through the city like threads of alarm. James and Isabel limped from the park's scarred heart, leaning on each other more than the ground. Her blood had crusted in her hair, a dark comma against auburn. His arm hung numb from the lance's backlash, veins mapped in faint blue afterglow. Guild med drones descended first, sleek white orbs scanning, injecting coagulants before questions. "Temporal anomaly contained," one droned in neutral tones. "Subjects stable. Debrief at Central Spire." Isabel's grip tightened on his sleeve. "No debrief. Not yet." They slipped the cordon before enforcers arrived, melting into side streets where vines draped like curtains. The city's pulse felt frantic now, hollow news flickering on every corner. Unexplained explosion in Central Park. Casualties, 0. Cause unknown. No mention of Thorns or Legion. Reality patching itself, as always. Their shop waited dark and quiet. Isabel keyed the door, sealed it behind them. The familiar clutter, tools, half-eaten protein bars, the percolator that never quite cleaned, grounded James more than any med patch. She locked the front, then the back, drew every blind. "They'll trace the signatures. Give us an hour." Hour for what? His voice came out gravel. Isabel didn't answer with words. She led him to the workbench, cleared a space with one sweep of her arm. From a locked drawer, she pulled a slim neural rig, sleeker than the crown, filaments like spider silk. Beside it, a crystalline vial, swirling with captured starlight. The last fragment of the vein, harvested as the light died. James's stomach dropped. You kept a piece. Had to. She met his eyes steady but pleading. The roots salted, yes, but seeds drift. Voss wasn't the end. She was a symptom. The machine's code is in us now. In me, most of all. He saw it then, the faint cerulean tracery under her skin, branching from temple to collarbone like frost on glass. When she breathed, the lines pulsed. How long? He asked. Since the vault. Every reset fed it. I'm the carrier. Her laugh was bitter. Built the cage, became the bird. James reached for her, but she stepped back. Listen, the rig, it's a one-way shunt. I can excise the code, burn it out with the fragment, but it takes both signatures again. Yours to anchor, mine to sacrifice. Sacrifice how? She touched the vial. My memories, all of them. The machine, the timelines, us. I'll wake up blank. You'll keep enough to watch for the next bloom. Raise the alarm if it sprouts. The room tilted. James braced on the bench. No, we find another way. There isn't. Tears tracked clean paths down her grimy cheeks. I've run the Sims. The code evolves. In a year, maybe less, it rewrites the colony from inside my head. Legion 2.0, Patient 0, billions again. He shook his head, frantic. Then we shunt it to me. I'll carry. You can't. Your signature's the lock. Mine's the key. We tried that in iteration 2, failed. She cupped his face, thumbs brushing the stubble. James, you fixed the world. Let me fix the fixer. Outside, boots echoed, enforcers sweeping block by block. Time hemorrhaged. James pulled her close, buried his face in her neck. She smelled of smoke and coffee and the park's green. One memory, he whispered. Give me one to keep. Something only we know. Isabel's breath hitched. She drew back, eyes searching his, then soft as dawn. The first morning after the first reset, you burnt the coffee. I pretended it was perfect. You said, if this is apocalypse coffee, sign me up for the end times. His voice cracked on the words. You kissed the foam off my lip and said, then let's end every day together. She smiled through tears. Hold that. They worked fast. Rig on the bench, vial slotted into the core. Filaments to temples, hers first, then his. The interface lit, excision, protocol, irreversible. Isabel's hand hovered over initiate. When I wake, I won't know you. Might fear you. Run. I'll burn the coffee, he said. You'll pretend. We'll start over, every time. Her finger descended. Light, gentler this time, like sunrise through eyelids. James felt the code tear free from her mind, a living storm funneled into the vial. Isabel convulsed once, a silent scream. He held her through it, anchoring with every morning they'd earned, every kiss, every quiet Thursday. The vial sealed, glowing steady. The tracery under her skin faded to nothing. She slumped. He caught her, eased her to the floor. Her pulse fluttered, bird quick, then slowed to normal. Eyes opened, sunrise but empty. Who? Her voice small, lost. James swallowed the ache. Friend. You hit your head in the park. I brought you home. She studied him, wary. The shop's clutter reflected in her pupils. Smells like burnt coffee. He forced a smile. Guilty. Want some? Outside, the door rattled. Enforcers. James palmed the vial, warm as a heartbeat. Isabel, stranger in her own skin, nodded slowly. Yeah, I think I do. He stood, offered his hand. She took it. Trust fragile, but there. As they moved to the percolator, the vial pulsed once against his thigh. A promise. I'll find you, again. The enforcers breached the front. James raised his hands, innocent. Just a domestic malfunction, officers? Dishwashers fixed. They scanned, found nothing, left grumbling. In the quiet after, Isabel sipped the coffee, winced, smiled anyway. Terrible. Perfect, James said. And in the ruins of every timeline they'd burned, a new one took root. Two strangers learning the shape of mornings, one burnt cup at a time. The vial cooled in his pocket, waiting, watching. But for now the war was memory, and memory could be remade. The shop's back room became their quiet fortress in the days that followed. James kept the vials sealed in a lead-lined case beneath the floorboards, beside the emergency kit, the spare fuses, the photo of his father that no longer felt like the only ghost in his life. Isabel, new Isabel, moved through the space with cautious curiosity, fingers trailing tools, as if greeting old friends she couldn't name. Morning started the same, percolator hissing, beans grinding too fine, the inevitable scorch. She'd wrinkle her nose, take the mug anyway. "You do this on purpose." "Tradition," he'd say, and watch the words settle in her eyes like a seed testing soil. They rebuilt in increments. She relearned the spanner's weight, the way quantum coils purred when happy. He taught her diagnostics. She corrected his sloppy soldier joints with a precision that made his chest ache. Clients came, word of Ryder and Quince repairs spreading through the guild, a Havelock super with a flickering gravity plate, a street vendor whose hollow sign stuttered advertisements for fruit that didn't exist last year. Isabel laughed at the vendor's panic, fixed it in 4 minutes flat. Easy. The flux was nostalgic. James paused mid-note. "Nostalgic?" She shrugged, wiping flux residue on her pants. "Felt like coming home to a glitch I'd patched before." He didn't push, just filed it away with the other flickers, the way she reached for his hand in crowds without thinking. How she hummed a tune under her breath that matched the old harmonic, but softer, lullaby slow. Nights they sat on the roof. The city's vines had climbed higher, threading neon with living gold. Grav trains whispered overhead like shooting stars on rails. "Tell me something true," she said one evening, head on his shoulder. James traced the faint scar on her wrist, new from the park's glassed earth. "You hate olives, but you'll eat them if I dare you," she snorted. "Challenge accepted," he dared her the next day. She chewed, grimaced, chased it with coffee. "Still terrible." "Perfect," he whispered. The vial stayed cold. No pulses, no cerulean glow. James checked it weekly, half expecting the code to stir. It didn't. Months slipped by. The park regrew. Real grass, stubborn wildflowers. Children played where thorns had caged the world. No one spoke of anomalies. Guild reports logged the explosion as a freak atmospheric discharge. Isabel's gaps filled with new memories, their first shared contract, the night the percolator exploded and they laughed until dawn cleaning foam from the ceiling. She sketched blueprints for fun, gadgets that bent light, toys that taught physics to kids. Never the machine. One afternoon, a priority ping, Xenotech Retrieval Division, Dr. Halverson retired, archives sealed. James stared at the message. Halverson, ghost from a life erased. He deleted it. That night, Isabel found him on the balcony, bulb of ale untouched. "You're brooding." "Old habit." She leaned beside him. "Brood louder. I like the sound." He smiled despite himself. "What if the past isn't done with us? Then we fix it." "Simple." "Sure." He pulled her close. "What if fixing means losing this?" She was quiet a long moment. Wind stirred her hair, carrying the scent of rain. Real rain scheduled for tomorrow. "Then we lose it together and find it again." James closed his eyes. The ache was still there, but rounded now, river stones smoothed by time. Years passed in quiet montage. The shop expanded. Second bench, apprentice kid with wide eyes and steady hands. Isabel's sketches became patents. They traveled. Inner colonies, beaches of black sand where she collected gears washed up by tides. She proposed on that beach, ring forged from a melted lance tip. "Marry me, fixer." Burnt coffee and all. He said yes before she finished. The wedding was small. Guild friends, the apprentice, a drone efficient that glitched halfway through vows and played circus music. They laughed until tears came. Children followed, a girl with Isabel's sunrise eyes and James's stubborn chin. A boy who took apart the percolator at age 4 and put it back better. The vial gathered dust. James forgot where he'd hidden it. Decades later, gray, threading their hair, they sat on the same balcony. Grandkids chased hollow butterflies below. Isabel's hand in his was mapped with age spots, but the grip sure. Tell me something true, she said, voice soft with years. James thought of vaults and thorns, light and sacrifice, of mornings earned across impossible odds. You, he said, always you. She smiled, leaned her head on his shoulder. The city hummed below, vines higher than ever, wrapping the spires in living light. Far beneath the park, in soil long salted, a single black seed cracked open. A tiny cerulean shoot pushed toward the surface, but the shoot paused, curled, retreated. Above, two old repair techs watched the stars, hands entwined. The past whispered. They didn't hear. They were too busy living the future they'd fixed. One burnt coffee, one shared laugh, one quiet morning at a time. And in the end, that was the only timeline that mattered.